Welcome back, y'all, to Ready to Love episode 2. And let me tell you, this episode was a lot more interesting than the last episode. But you know what, you guys? I am really enjoying this cast. I don't know. I think this might be one of the better casts in a couple of years. There's no one really standing out that's just irritating me. I'm liking pretty much almost everyone. I could say that, you know what? I could see how there could be a lot of matches going on this season. So I'm happy this year. I am really happy. The ladies look good. There's some nice looking men. I mean, there's a few things here and there we're going to talk about, but for the most part, you guys, I think this is the most comfortable I have felt with a cast for many seasons. And you know what? They changed something this year. They did a couple of things. One is they only started with 16, but then they added 4 more people this week. And then Tommy let us know that this week everyone's going to get a save. So at one point in time, the men are going to get to save a woman, and I guess the women are going to get to save a man. You know what? It was happening anyway the years before. Tommy was saving people, not sending people home. But this time they put the power in the hands of the cast members, of which I like. But the episode was good. The bottom 2 end up being Corvaya. You know what? They weren't liking her too much. Last episode, they were saying she was too judgmental, too picky. And this week, the gentleman was calling her gold digger vibes. Did she seem like she had gold digger vibes? I don't know. She was saying a few little things, but I don't know if I would go so far to say that she's a gold digger. She was just telling people what her standards are, and she was like, listen, I ain't a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke. She was telling them. So I don't know if I would call her a gold digger. And then the other person on the bottom, of course, was Z again. Z is kind of awkward. And I'm telling you, these outfits she had on this week, she looked like an old maid, an old woman. And I don't know if this is how she does on dates, because that date she had with Blake was horrible. He's not the best conversationalist either, but those two on a date was like watching paint dry. It was really boring. But the episode started off with them all, on this luncheon that Tommy put on. And DeMario was saying he's really into Corvaya. So, there's a lot of other people who didn't like Corvaya, but DeMario said he is into Corvaya. He's like, he loves her energy. He said he's definitely going to check her out. He likes what she's wearing, how she looking. He was liking everything. Jeffrey's running around talking about she is looking for a man of God. I always wonder about when people say they're looking for a man of God, but obviously some real big things have gone wrong in terms of who they've chosen to, procreate with. And I always wonder, what went wrong? Did you just start looking for a man of God, or were you looking for one and things went left? Because I still kind of want to know Jeffrey's background. But she said right now she's looking for a man of God. Obviously, whatever she had going on before with her kids didn't work out, and he must not have been a man of God. So she's trying to say she's trying to do things a little bit different out here. But I really do want to hear more of Jeffrey's story, because I'm curious. I really am curious with the way she's coming up on the show versus some other things. I'm like, I really want to know her story and how did she get here. I hope at one point in time we get to hear the whole backstory on Jeffrey. But they added 4 more singles this time. They added a young lady named Jonique, and they added another young lady named Cynthia, and then they added another man called Fabrice, which they called him Febreze. They said that sounds too much like Febreze, and the way he talks about how he likes to roll around in the sheets, you might want to call him Febreze. For them sheets he likes to keep talking about. And then they had Mark Anthony. So they popped on in here, and I'm telling you, Mark Anthony looked good. The ladies look good as well. They were serving it up, and shoot, Andre's eyes was all over Miss Cynthia, and he said later on, he said, you know what, that dress looks so good on Miss Cynthia, that green dress, that he's gonna change his favorite color to green. He got some lines. Let me tell you, Andre has some lines, but I guess he would have a lot of lines, because I'm telling you, that little theme, that little Jerry curl thing, he's definitely stuck in the 80s and the 90s. And we all know that the 80s and 90s had the best R&B songs. So I'm quite sure he's got a lot of good one-liners from them 90s R&B songs, like Babyface or something, because he's got a line for every woman. He definitely knows how to charm the ladies with his R&B lines. But let me tell you, when them women walked in, they was looking good. Jeffrey looked oppressed. She looked a little bit nervous with the competition walking in the room. She did not look happy at all. It was written all over her face. She was like, I don't need no additional competition. You could tell she wasn't happy about it. But Miss Monique walked in. She 30 years old. She owned her own software company. And she had that line, like I just be telling, I be getting tired of women saying, men are intimidated by me. I really wish women would stop saying that. I really wish they would stop doing it. But she said it anyway. She said they get intimidated by her, but if they are, that's their problem, and she can't help you. If you intimidated by her, that's your problem. And then you have Miss Cynthia walk in. Let me tell you, she had the Coke bottle, everything going on with the green dress. Like I said, she got Andre's attention. She got a lot of guys' attention, to tell the truth. But Lyndon, he said he liked Monique, or Zonique, I should say. You remember Lyndon is the guy, the Jamaican guy, who also lives with a roommate, the one that Corvaya didn't like because he didn't have his own place. He was also the one last week calling her judgmental. But you know what? Lyndon said he liked Zonique. He liked her boldness, and he says that she got a lot of flavor to her, and he was feeling that. But Corvaya and Mark Anthony, they started chumming it up a little bit. So I guess Mark Anthony's 34. He's from New York, but he's also from Haiti. And then you have Fabrice. He came and told his story that he's also Haitian, but he lived in France. So, of course, he speaks French. And so he was talking about that he knows how to cook. He can cook up a storm, and that once you have his cooking, you stuck for life. Okay, Miss Sherry Petty. Mark Anthony said he ain't no player. He said he's 34. He said he's ready to settle down with one woman. We'll see. I don't know if I'm picking up on those vibes yet, but he says he is. He says he's ready to settle down. He said he's not manipulative. He's a straight shooter. He said he ain't gonna lie to you. He said a lot of these players out here want to lie to you and manipulate. He says he ain't doing either one of those things, because he says I tell the truth, and I tell the truth straight up. So we'll see what kind of truth he has for people. He's the one later on, he calls Corvaya a gold digger when Corvaya started talking about, do you spoil a woman? And he told Corvaya, he says, no, if you earn it, I'll spoil you. He says, I just ain't spoiling you to be spoiling you, but if you earn it, I'll spoil it. And she was like, can't you tell already that I'm worth it? She was funny. She was funny. Corvaya says she's ready to love, but she just says she can't love anybody. And she says finances has a lot to do with it. Like I said, she may not be a gold digger, but she definitely said she ain't working with no broke Negroes. And if you can't afford her lifestyle, then that's your problem. That don't make her a gold digger. That makes her say she just got some standards. Okay. Corvaya. But then you got Z this episode. Last week she was on the bottom, and this week she running scared. Every time she run around to a man, ooh, I heard y'all wanted to send me home. Who wanted to send me home? It really was a little bit awkward and distracting, but she went around from man to man to man to man. Were you the one who wanted to send me home? Why you want to send me home? She couldn't even concentrate on just maybe having a good time or really starting afresh. She want to turn back and figure out who was the one who put her on the bottom before. And she was so intent on that, it really was a kind of awkward. She was hemming up the guys, hemming them in the corner, saying, was it you? Was it you? Was it you? Was it you? Man, we're trying to listen to that. Tony was like, oh, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. But the 90s boy band Andre, he is putting it on Jeffrey. He is already, you could tell, he is already blowing up her head. And she running around with this little baby voice saying, I missed you. I missed you. I don't know. Something about Jeffrey is not lining up for me. But okay, I'll go with this little whiny voice she has telling Andre that she missed him. And he's telling her, listen, you the one. He's already whispering sweet nothings in her ear, blowing her up. So, and then next thing you know, another girl comes around, but he's talking to that girl. I don't know. He must have gone back and listened to all the 80s and 90s R&B music and said, I'm going to lay all these lines eyes on Jeffrey because he has already got her nose a wide open, believing everything that he's saying. And then Jeffrey over here talking about how the other women are thirsty. You really looking thirsty too, Jeffrey, right now. You are really looking a little bit thirsty, really soaking up all that Andre is throwing down. Don't be too quick. Don't be too quick because he's over here throwing these lines down on a lot of women. He ain't made them especially for you. They not he didn't go home and write these lyrics to this 90s R&B song especially for you. No, this song he is singing to a concert of women. But she don't know it. She think it's all for her. But I kind of like what they did on this time on the episode when they did this whole big old group date where the new people came in and they got to sit with all the women. I actually kind of like that. So then you had the Parisian guy come on in, Fabrice sit down. And I tell you, if we was taking our vodka shots every time he said he wants good sex, we'd all be drunk and toe up, laying on the floor because he talked about it a lot. So much he turned off a lot of women. He definitely turned off Jeffrey. Jeffrey said, oh, this is just too much for me. I tell you, they say Jeffrey is a whole wife. They said, she is elevated, not just from somebody you want to date. She's a person that you marry. So obviously she got a good reputation amongst the men. Who was that who said that? Yeah, that was Andre who said that Jeffrey is like a whole wife, but she plays this little coy game. She laughs. It's really kind of like a juvenile a little bit. I don't know. What do y'all think about Jeffrey? So she laughs and she said something about, you know what, if you can mind F her, you can have her. I was like, I just don't get it. There just seems to be some little bit of contradictions going on here. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Who is Jeffrey? Who is Jeffrey, y'all? Somebody help me out. But the whole time on the date, all that Febreze guy was talking about was how he need a woman who's sexual and all this other kind of stuff over and over and over again. And then we also have Mark Anthony on the date. And let me tell you, he and Mercedes was canoodling and googly eyeing each other. So by the end of that date, Mark Anthony had his eye on Mercedes. And Mercedes was like, listen, you going to be the pilot. I'm going to be the flight attendant. And we're going to go in here and become part of the Mile High Club. They like, we can be part of the Mile High Club together. I heard Mercedes over there thinking it. She didn't say it. I know she was thinking it, so I'm gonna say it for her. They want to be part of the Mile High Club. And then they reversed it. Then they had the two new ladies, both Sonique and Cynthia, go on this group date with all the other guys. And let me tell you, they was hemming up Cynthia. They was hemming her up and throwing some real questions at her. But you know what? I think she handled herself well. I think she gave some really good questions. But it was so interesting that they were trying to ask her, what type of guy do you like? Do you like light skin? Do you like dark skin? Do you like tall? Do you like short? And it's really interesting that they were asking her questions about what she likes physically, just as if a girl or a woman would ask a man what he likes physically. Because I think it's come a point in time now where it's almost like a women pick men, just like the way a man pick women. We always knew men would always pick women for looks first. That was always the case back in the day and everything. Men go for looks first. But now we've gotten to a point where even men are asking women, what do you prefer in looks first? Because I guess women are out here picking men for looks first too. Isn't that something? So we used to pick mates differently, but nowadays I guess men and women are picking each other based on looks. So they was asking her, and she was like, you know what? I don't have a type. I don't have a type in terms. She goes, I stopped doing that. I'm not picking anybody based on what they look, because in the end, that doesn't mean that that's the right person for you. I thought that she gave some really good answers. And when they were trying to ask her, well, what do you like? Do you like light skin or dark skin? She's like, I like all type of people, because I like somebody who is honest and who is caring. And she was saying a whole bunch of other stuff. She's like, she don't want no cheater. She wants someone that's responsible. Those are all deal killers. And she said that's way more important to her than looks. I liked her answers. Andre liked her answers. Like I said, Andre over here liking a lot of people. Jeffrey better keep her eye on him. He's over here liking a lot of people. And Mr. 80s and 90s R&B band, he definitely liked him some Cynthia as well. And Sonique chimed in and she said she liked ugly men too. Sonique said, you know what? They may be ugly to some women, but I've dated some ugly men. And you know what? I guess she's saying it was nice on the inside. So he says a lot of people would think that he's ugly. But you know what? He was ugly, but he wasn't ugly to me. I heard you, Zanique. I dated a few ugly men too. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. And then Andre was talking to Cynthia, talking about, well, can you date an alpha male? Can you handle an alpha male? Here we go again with these terms, alpha male. I feel like I wanted to ask Andre, what's an alpha male? Give me the definition so I know the question you really asking me. But anyway, she says, Cynthia said, I know how to be submissive. She says, I don't want your role. She said, you could wear the briefs and I'll wear the panties. She goes, that's a hard job. I don't want that job. Yeah, the problem is, Cynthia, that a lot of people call themselves alpha male, but they ain't doing the whole job of an alpha male. That's what the problem is out here in the streets. But you know what? Let's go on and talk about it. But she said, you know what? She don't want to be the leader. It's too much work. I heard that. Let me tell you, couple of phrases we need to get rid of in 2023, talking about the strong, independent, a black woman. That's a thankless job. No, I need some help. I don't want to be strong. I want to be weak. I don't want to be independent. I want to be interdependent. I need some help around here. But then after that, after Andre says, can you handle an alpha male? Then he's walking her to the car talking about, you intimidate me. Well, you're not an alpha male. This is why I said we need to stop using the terminology. Because one way you say you're an alpha male, but then you walking her to the car talking about she intimidates you. Them two don't even go together. This is what I'm talking about. Can we stop, people? Can we stop using the term? But last week, Tony was all into Morgan, but this week he had a one-on-one date with Marcia. Marcia came there looking good. She had a little fly outfit on. She told him, your fly is matching my fly. Your swag is matching my swag. And they had a good little date. Tony was like, shoot, before Morgan was number one. But let me tell you, Marcia done moved up the roster because they had a really good date and they was vibing with each other and everything. Marcia looked good. And Marcia was like, ooh, I don't know if I could trust him. I don't know if I could trust him because he seemed to have the lines for all the women. That is one thing. These men are smooth talkers this season. Smooth talkers. And they are laying it on thick to all these women. And let me tell you, these women are going to have to sift through all that BS to find out what the real is, because let me tell you, it's thick up in there. It is thick. It's a lot of people are dropping lines and dropping charm on these ladies. So they better put on their thinking caps and they better put on call the Lord for the gift of discernment, because there's some trickery going on. You know there's some trickery. You know there's some trickery by one of these men going on. So these women better bring their gift of discernment, because these men are laying it on thick. And shoot, the men better do the same thing. I'm sure the women are laying it on thick too. I don't know what Jeffrey's doing. Jeffrey might be one of them laying it on thick. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Something going on there. Something is going on there. But then they made Blake go out with Z. You know Blake didn't want to go out with Z. And she walked in with this corset on and some little skirt. I swear, Z's not even that old. She's only maybe 30, 32 or 34, right? But she dressed like she's 55 years old. Horrible. This girl needs a stylist. That outfit she had on was horrible. And let me tell you, that date was even worse. She was mad because she was saying that he was interrogating her, but she really wasn't giving much. She really is a boring date, and she's all over the place. He's trying to ask her about her and what she likes to do. This girl started talking about she likes to hula hoop, and next thing I know, she talking about hula hooping and laughing, and then she talking about orgasm. What? The hula hoop makes you laugh, and that makes you have an orgasm? Girl, you awkward. You are awkward. You need some lessons on dating, because this was a horrible date. It was so bad that, you know what, even Blake was uneasy. But you know what, he kind of boring too. He didn't even add no flavor to the date. He wasn't able to loosen her up or anything. He went into interview mode and interrogating her. But he's boring. I don't know about this Blake fella, but he was boring too. This was the most boring date I have ever watched on Ready to Love. But by the end of that day, you knew she was going to go home at the end of the show. I was like, ain't no way she going to survive this. And then on the other scene, you still have Marcia, and you had Tony over here praying over the food, you know, putting on a good little showing for Marcia. She's like, ooh, he a man of God. She trying to reconcile this man of God and praying with this sort of player vibes that she's getting for him. And she's like, oh, Lordy, Lordy, which one is he? Is he the man of God who prays, or is he a player? She's like, I'm confused. I'm confused. But all the women on that group date, they were asking some tough questions too of Febreze, and also, Mark Anthony, and they was asking what kind of women do you like to date, and Fabrice was talking about how he's multinational, he's from Paris, he's dated all kind of women, and then Mark Anthony saying yeah he's dated a lot of different women too, but his preference is black women. I guess a lot of black women, once they hear you date women of other races, I guess they become turned off or something by it. I don't know. I think black women gonna have to get over that. Shoot, black women just as good as any other woman. Don't matter if he dated somebody else. If he likes you and he thinks you fine, what difference does it make? But you know what? They like to know. They like to know. Marcia was talking about Febreze is too old to be bringing up sex this often. It's always the person who brings it up so much that tells you probably they ain't getting a lot of it. And if they are getting a lot, it must not be that good. Because otherwise, why you got to keep talking about it every 2 seconds? Like I said, if we was drinking every time he brought it up, we'd be all drunk here on the floor right now. All of us. But once they got to the Liberation Room, Mercedes was still on top. Mercedes was still clocking the win with a lot of these men. Lyndon who was liking Mercedes. Anthony was liking Mercedes. Andre was liking Mercedes. Mark Anthony was liking Mercedes. Lyndon was liking Morgan. Fabrice was liking Morgan too. And Tony was liking Morgan. And like he said, Marcia is a close second at this moment. And who else? Blake said he was into Suanne. And Blue was into Jeffrey. Who else was into Jeffrey? Andre was definitely into Jeffrey, and so was Demario was into Jeffrey. So Jeffrey got a lot of suitors as well, and Andre was definitely into Cynthia. Like I said, he said she changed his whole favorite color. That's how much he liked her. But when they was talking about who was getting the no's, Corvaya was a no for a lot of people. She was a no for Anthony, not Anthony. She was a no for Andre. She was a no from Tony. She was a no from Lyndon. And in the end, it was Lyndon who took her out and said, listen, I ain't gonna lie to you. You was on my bottom. He said, I ain't gonna lie, I put you on the bottom. He said, but you know what? It's okay with you telling the things that you want, but the way that you say it, you can say it more like, these are things I would like, as opposed to saying it like it's a demand or she's entitled to it or whatever else. They said, we just don't like your style. It's nothing wrong with you wanting to have standards or like things, but the way you put it, I believe, is what he's saying they had the most offense to. We'll see. We'll see if Corvaya could tone it down. But when she walked away from that, she said, I ain't toning down nothing. She says, if you can't afford me, I just say so. That girl is funny. And then they made Blake take Z out again. He's like, this is torture. I got to go on a second date with Z. Even Z was like, good Lord, why am I going out with Blake again? Are you going out with him again because you're about to get eliminated? And sure enough, he eliminated her. And when she went home, she was like, oh, I guess I'm not as extroverted as I thought I was. Obviously not, because your conversation was horrible. And then let me tell you how bad her conversation is. Even her song was bad, because at the end, when they said, okay, do you have anything else to say? She decides she's going to break out into this a little song. And let me tell you, even the song was boring. So I don't know. Z might need to go back, work on her date game, come up with a good conversation, because these were some of the worst dates. Not only was her elimination date bad, her date with Blake was bad. And like I said, she didn't have a lot to work with, because Blake, he don't seem too much fun either. I really haven't seen him laugh or tell a joke or be funny or anything at all. He kind of seemed like a bump on the log too. So I don't know, but them two together, a worst date ever. So I think she should have gone home, to be honest with you. There's really no other woman I think that was worse or did as poorly on the show as Z did. So I do believe they sent the right person home. Well, next week, the women got the power, so we will see who they send home, y'all. But that's it. I'll talk to you later. Bye.